Hey folks, Pat here from DNS. This Madison area fishing report is current as of September 30th. I want to apologize for the lateness of this post. I actually had quite a few people through the door this morning, and while that's great for business, it's not great for getting a fishing report out on time, so I apologize for that. Quickly though, I wanted to point everybody's attention towards a cool news story this last week. They pulled another canoe, an ancient dugout canoe out of the Lake Mendota. Last year they pulled one out that was 1,800 years old. The one they pulled out last week, they say is 3,000 years old. So that's pretty cool. And, it's just kind of neat to think about how long people have been fishing these waters, the same waters we fish today. Folks were fishing 3,000 years ago. So wonder what the walleye bite was back 3,000 years ago here. Um, anyway, though, uh, I guess a little bit of shop news too. I had a trade show I was at this week, picked up most of my ice fishing stuff. So that should be delivered here in the next week or two, and we'll be getting that stuff out on the floor. So stay tuned here on social media for when we put that stuff out. We'll be posting when we got it out. So some of that stuff can go pretty quick, and it's a limited supply. So just stay tuned there. I guess weather this week was dry. We had some cooler temps sticking around. Looks like a beautiful week ahead with more of the same in the next week. And the weekend looks great, 70 degrees, dry. So get out there and enjoy it while you can. Winter's not far away. Um, I'd say generally around the chain, the fishing's been good and getting better. Common theme you're going to hear today is that fish are moving shallow. And with the cooler temps, they're coming in shallow, enjoying the warmer water and chasing bait fish around. The Speaking of the cold water, the Mendota Lake Buoy this morning read 63.1 degrees, which is a little bit more than 5 degrees down from what it was this time last week. So, those temps are really dropping with these cold nights we've had. Let's see, up here on Cherokee, like I said, these cooler temps and shorter days have got the weeds starting to die back, but it's still kind of a weedy mess up there. Been hearing about some great reports of some nice largemouth coming out of there, with topwater frogs being a good choice. Also, the pike are thick up there, so and there are a lot of them in that 20 to 30 inch range. A lot of fun to catch. Not if you're a bass angler and not using a leader, you might get snapped off quite a bit. But either way, there's lots of fish up there and some good opportunities. Down to the 113 bridge, the catfish bite down there continues to be good and getting better. That bite will improve until we get right up into ice up here as those fish prepare for winter. So the catfish bite's been good. I've also been hearing about some walleyes coming out of this area, and had a guy in yesterday who was telling me about perch coming out of there too. He got a decent amount of perch, some good size. So you never really know what you'll get up there at the 113 bridge. That's kind of the cool thing about that spot. Perch bite remains slow around the lake, but people are still getting fish on the weeds, in the weeds, and just off the weeds, even out to 20 feet. Lots of small fish in there right now, so you got to sort through to find a limit of keepers. But the good news is the gills are moving shallow. Their gills are starting to move off the mid-lake humps where they spent a good portion of the summer here the last few weeks. But they're starting to move in shallow, so you'll find those mixed in with the small perch. And, there's always an opportunity for those Mendota jumbo gills that everybody likes to catch out there. Speaking of the mid-lake humps, the walleyes are still out there in good numbers. Trolling's been good around those areas, but it's starting to switch over to minnows and jigging, and slip bobbers have been great presentations for those fish. So, Dunn's Bar, Second Point, Commodore, Brearley have all been pretty safe bets for those walleyes. And like I said before, the bass are starting to move up shallow, so look for smallmouth in shallow rocks. Maple Bluff, Fox Point, Governor's Island, Picnic Point have all been pretty good areas. Look for largemouth in shallow weedy areas, with topwater frogs being a good, pretty safe bet all around the lake. And the pike population out here is still very strong. And again, a lot of those 20 to 30 inch fish out there, and they are hungry, getting ready for winter. The walleyes, while they are still being found out on the mid-lake humps, are starting to move shallow. So I've been hearing about fish along the city shoreline, in particular down along the university shoreline. Also been hearing about some good action down here to the Tenney Park breakwall. Action behind the Tenney Park Dam has been slow since they shut it down. because of mechanical issues. Tenny Park Lagoon has been good for tiny bluegills, as it always is, but also some nice largemouths coming out of there too. Um, Down here to where the Yahara dumps into Lake Winona has been, I've been hearing about some good bass action down there. Otherwise, on Monona itself, all around the lake, I've been hearing about good perch action on the weed lines. And the gills that were out deep have started to move in shallow, and so they're hanging out there with those perch. So good gill action and perch action on weed lines all around the lake. Some good areas that I've heard of are on the east side of the lake over here, down by the rock pile, the Olin Park area out from the medical center, and we have fish that are starting to move into the triangles and down here to Brittingham Bay. Also been hearing about some good bluegill and crappie action, actually off the Monona Terrace wall still. That action continues to improve. I haven't heard much out of Lake Wingra, but a bunch of tiny gills down there if you want to keep a kid busy, some decent bass, and some muskie in there. Generally, those fish are on the smaller side, 30 plus, something like that. Haven't heard a lot out of Turville or Squaw Bays down here, but the muskie action on Monona has been great. Get a lot of folks in here buying the muskie suckers we have on hand now. Those fish are 12 to 14 inches, and the muskies are looking to bulk up this time of year, so they're looking for a big, easy meal. So that's a great choice for those fish. Been hearing about some great panfish action up here in the dredge hole on Mud Lake. Also, the bass action out here on the weed flats around Upper Mud has been picking up lately too, with topwater frogs being a great option there. Down on Wabisa, I've been hearing about good perch action on any weed lines all around the lake, and bluegills mixed in with those fish. I've been hearing about some walleyes off Hog Island and a few out from Babcock still. Some decent bass action in the Babcock Lagoon still, and down here on the south end of the lake. But the other big news out here on Wabisa is the muskie. Muskie action's been great and will continue to get better right up until ice up. So again, any manner of baits have been working good, but a lot of folks also using large suckers down there too. As far as Kegonsa goes, I don't hear a ton coming out of there. Granted, I'm on the opposite end of the chain from Kegonsa, so maybe I just don't get the folks in here. But I know people that travel down there to fish, and they just haven't been finding them. So if I were fishing down there, I'd check the same 10 to 15 feet of water, weed lines, looking for perch and gills down there, walleyes off the state park. But I just haven't heard anything personally off Kegonsa. I have heard some action down in Stoughton, down near the dam down here at the park, and there's fish starting to back up there. But that's going to be another theme here is all the dams. You're going to be having fish backing up behind them. Whether it's the Rock River, Yahara River, Wisconsin River, you're going to have fish starting to back up behind the dams. Over here, the Rock River, where the rock dumps into Koshkonong, has been a good area for trolling for walleyes. A lot of small fish continue to come out of there, but some good numbers. Fort Atkinson up to Jefferson has been some good catfish action in there. A lot of channel catfish coming out of these areas, with some reports of some nice flatheads coming out of the Jefferson Dam area. Over here to the Wisconsin River has been pretty much the same deal. Prairie du Sac Dam has had, some good walleyes starting to show up there. Some good walleye action up here to the dam. Sturgeon have been in there. I've been reading a lot of 30 to 40 inch fish coming out of there. Haven't really seen any pictures posted or heard anything about any monsters, but they're right behind those smaller fish. Downriver of Sauk City, kind of the same deal as it always is. Smallmouth bite continues to be good, but the pike and muskie action is starting to pick up with fall on its way. Up to Lake Wisconsin, I haven't heard much coming out of there other than a decent trolling bite that's been the same all summer, with flicker shads being effective out there. Got panfish moving into some of the shallow bays. They got the grade over here. Going to have panfish moving in there as the water starts to cool down moving forward. Portage up to Wisconsin Dells, great smallmouth action through there, and pike and muskie action starting to pick up. Have been hearing about some walleye starting to show up at the Wisconsin Dells Dam, along with white bass and some crappies. So, and that action is going to continue to improve as we move into fall. Up to Castle Rock and Pettenwell dams, same thing. We're looking at walleyes stacking up there, sturgeon, catfish. I've been hearing about some decent flatheads and channels stacking up in there. But always, just a nice mixed bag that comes along with any dam fishing. As far as the lakes go, I haven't heard a ton coming out of here, but it sounds like the walleye bite's picking up with the water starting to clear up. Also getting some good panfish action along shore. Look for structure, rocks, and wood has been good for those fish. I haven't heard a ton coming out of the Mississippi River. What I have heard from the walleye anglers is that it seems like it's slowed down a little bit, but the panfish bite continues to be good. A lot of those fish hanging around structure, so wood and rocks around shoreline. Wing dams are always a pretty safe bet over here. And look for smallmouth in those areas. But it sounds like the panfish action's good. Walleye's a little bit slow, but that's bound to pick up here as the temps drop, and the walleye fishing over there can get really, really great. Over in the Milwaukee area, out in the harbors, all the way from Kenosha, all the way up to Sheboygan, been hearing about king salmon, been moving into the harbors pretty good. I posted yesterday about a nice king that Paul Zock caught over here and from the shore in Lake Michigan. So those fish are starting to move shallow, and I have heard some reports of them moving up rivers. So, check Kenosha, Racine, Milwaukee, all the way up. Anywhere there's a river that comes in, those salmon are going to be start pushing up there with the cohos right behind them. Right behind them, you'll have the brown trout and steelhead. So let the good times begin for the fall run over here, and more to come on that. But yeah, like I said, there have been fish showing up in all the harbors, all the way up and down the East Coast over there. Speaking of the East Coast, Green Bay area has the walleye bites really been picking up over there, from what I hear. Some really nice fish coming out, trolling flicker shads and crankbaits and stuff like that. It has been good for those fish. So if you want to take a little trip, that's a great option for some real trophies coming out of there. Other than that, trout fishing around the Madison area has been fantastic. I was out with my son this last Sunday. We did great on hoppers, and that hopper bite's going to continue until we get the first good frost that comes through. So be ready and stocked up with hoppers, because that's a great bite right now. But, I was out the other day with a buddy, and he was using a caddis pattern, and I stuck to my hoppers. I'm a little stubborn that way. But he outfished me on caddis patterns. So, it's nice to use hoppers, and that's a lot of fun, and those fish are definitely looking for that easy big meal. But if a hatch comes off with some small blue-winged olives or some caddis, you're going to want to be ready for that, because the trout will key in on those bugs. But yeah, only 2 weeks left of trout season here, so get out there and enjoy it while you can. And then we'll be moving on into fall, and the salmon run over there to Milwaukee, and then ice fishing isn't far away. So enjoy this nice weather while you can. Feel free to call the shop if you have any questions about anything I've talked about here. We can expand on stuff a little bit more, maybe a little more detail. Otherwise, post your comments and catches below. We love to see that stuff and see how folks are doing out there. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks so much. Good luck.